Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the In Alignment podcast. So, with you again today is me, Kenny, your host. So, if you're watching us on YouTube, that's wonderful. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thank you so much again for your support. So, today I wanted to talk about self-confidence. And this is a subject that was suggested to me by a new friend of mine on IG. And so I hope that this episode helps you and helps others to understand, not even understand, to be honest, just me sharing myself, my point of view of, gaining self-confidence and the things that I have done in the past to gain more self-confidence or to feel confident anyways. So let me start by saying that if you've known me since I was young, and I know there are a few listeners out there that have known me for a few years now. I want to say that from what I heard from other people and from other adults, I've always come across as someone who was self-confident. But the reality of the matter is that I wasn't. I was not always confident. I honestly wasn't. And even now, I don't know that I can say that I'm confident, but what I can say is that I don't think in terms of self-confidence or not. I just am, basically. So how did that whole thing evolve? Well, first of all, if you kind of know my parents, or if you don't know my parents, allow me to introduce you to my parents. So first of all, my mom is like the booster of life. Like, honestly, if you are depressed, you probably need my mom in your life because she will boost your Holy Spirit out of you. Like, you will think, or at least you will remember, that you are a god or a goddess, or that you are something extraordinary. Like, if it doesn't get to your ego, like, I think like even your ego won't be able to handle it. Like, even your ego will be like, oh my God, this is just like too much. I think I'm just going to dissolve and just be. So she's amazing like that. And my dad is, how can I explain my dad? This is the thing. I love my dad. Like, I love my whole family. And I have a special relationship with my dad because my dad, I just love to hate on him because it's just so funny and I don't know, it's just so easy and funny, and that's the relationship I have with him. But anyways, so without any hate and with all the real love that I actually have for him, my dad is a performer. And so just like, I guess, a lot of performers, he loves attention. And he is always the center of attention. And he just loves people like that, but he also gives attention. So he gives as much as he loves to receive. So growing up, my dad being a performer, he put me into piano lessons when I was 7 years old. And one of his dreams was that he wanted us to perform together, which obviously we did not have the same dream because I didn't even want to learn the piano to start with. At some point, I wanted to learn the drums. And he was like, you know what, you need to master the piano first, and then we'll talk about drums. And then in my head, it was like, I never even wanted to play the piano. So how is this a negotiation? Anyways, so growing up when, I would say between the ages of 7 and 16, 15, maybe, I had a lot of inner conflict with my dad, and I've talked about it through different podcasts. And so basically, I don't know, like, where I'm at right now, let me just start by this. Where I'm at right now, self-confidence, I feel like not only it's a vibration, but it's your truth. And when you get to know your truth, then nothing can really shake you, because you understand that if it comes from the heart, if it's not coming from your ego, from your head, from your mind, if your self-confidence comes from your heart, you understand that your truth is just as valid that anyone else's truth. So it's not a matter of, putting people down, or, debating with others, or, sometimes maybe people might want to challenge you on your belief system, on the things that you are, on what you are, how you identify yourself, whatever. And those things will not matter, because if you truly know who you are and you truly love yourself, then it's just like there is no space for debate, because it's like, this is who I am, or this is who I choose to be. This is how I choose to, appear. And you have just as much choice as I have. So I don't even understand why there's a reason for a debate. So anyways, one of the issues that I had, it was, my feminine energy. I grew up being a tomboy because I was not comfortable in my feminine body for a few reasons. One, um, I grew up in Montreal for the most sensitive years of my life. So between the ages of 7 and 12, no, actually 7 and 13, I was in Montreal. And so when we first came to Canada, and we used to live in a little city, like not even in Montreal, it was like next to Montreal, it's called Longueuil. And so when we were there, I believe, I don't even have any memories in my elementary school of other Black kids. Uh, Not until the fourth grade, I want to say, yeah, maybe third grade, and something like that. And so I look different, obviously. I look different. I was Black. I was chubby when I was younger. Because when we came here, we discovered McDonald's. Like, McDonald's was life. Pizza was life. Like, we didn't have that back home, or at least that's not what we ate back home. Back home we ate healthy. And so then this kind of became my world, like the world of junk food. I didn't know that world existed, and it was a wonderful world. And so I was chubbier. I was a bit chubby. I was not fat, but I was chubby, definitely. And so, but then as I matured, I think around the age of 11, like between 11 and 12, I started getting curvier. And I got my period when I was 12, actually the first day of high school. That's when I got my period. And I didn't even know anything about this. Anyways, that was like a whole ordeal, which was really funny. But anyways, so then me being curvaceous, again, I was like different from other women that I was observing, other young girls that I was observing. And I had a small stomach, and I was like petite, my upper body was like quite petite, and then I had a big ass, and I had hips. And back in the days, this was not exactly the image that people liked, unlike today, where anything can happen, like people get surgery to get those type of features and whatever it is. But back in the days, that was not the popular figure that was like advertised, right? And so unconsciously, I think it really worked on my psyche, because I don't think it was like, now when I think about it, it wasn't specifically because I didn't like my body, but it's just like one of the ways that the things that you kind of have to explore about yourself, right? So then fast forward that, um, then being a teenager, or like being in my early 20s, I've never really felt comfortable in my curvaceous body, because I don't know, because of all these things that I had accumulated in the past. But then there was like all this attention from the opposite sex, from men, or just like people in general. And when I think about it now, it's like, you look at people all the time. It doesn't mean anything, right? But it's how you feel. I felt like I really didn't like the way that people would look at me, or especially men. I didn't like the attention, getting the attention of men. And so that's one of the reasons why I became a tomboy, because I was like, you know what, if I can fly under the radar and wear the baggiest of clothes and just be like, you know, I just want to be cool. I just want to hang out with people. Like, it doesn't have to be sexual, you know, we can be people, we can be human beings. I know you're an amazing human being. I know that you have something great to say, and we can share a wonderful experience. And it doesn't have to be sexual, you know, because I never felt like, you know, that sexual energy or that attention, that sexual attention, and it didn't feel good to me, because it didn't come from, I didn't feel like it came from a genuine place. That it didn't come from the heart. It came from somewhere else, right? And that's what made me uncomfortable, right? Those were one, well, that was one of the things that made me uncomfortable. And the other thing was that, speaking of attention, so, you know, when my dad put me in piano lessons, so I think every year, I want to say, there was like a performance from the school, and every kid had like one performance. Um, and then, you know, the parents would come, or like family, whatever it is, right? And that was the thing that I hated the most, because I could feel all this attention like coming towards me. And honestly, it was just like too much energy for me to handle, because looking back, it was because I wasn't in my truth yet. I could not hold the vibration of my truth, right? And so then it was like, oh my God, why are these people looking at me, you know? And I never liked attention when I was young, because I felt like, because this was one of my beef with my dad. I didn't like my dad. I actually didn't love him. I didn't like my dad. And, you know, and he was always giving me like so much attention. And I was like, dude, I don't understand this. Like, why are you giving me this much attention when clearly we don't have a relationship? You don't even know who I am, blah, 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 blah. So this whole conversation is what is then reflected in your reality, right? And it felt like, you know, why are these people looking at me when they don't really know who I am, or they're not trying to get to know me? And it's like they're looking at me from a superficial point of view, and therefore what I'm going to do is hide myself, right? So then I adopted this personality of being shy, you know. But at the same time, when someone said, you know, oh, you're so shy, or like me, if I said, oh no, I'm doing this, or I'm like this because I'm shy, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the vibration was like in alignment with my true being, you know? And so then, you know, again, like these are the things that since from a young age, like anything that didn't make sense to me, I always sought to understand it, and to make sense out of, you know? And so this whole thing of attention, again, it came back to my dad. So now fast forwarding, or going back to my feminine energy, or like being more comfortable in my feminine energy. So this one time I had a meditation, and, or maybe it took a few meditations, because, oh, right. So the first, I think I've talked about how I discovered my first, or how I saw my first spiritual guide, and they came to me as a snake, and it took like 3 meditations to really get rid of that fear of snakes. And but the thing is, it was connected with so many things, and you know, we traveled in so many places in my body, and there was like communication in my throat, there was a block there was like a block in my heart, like me feeling that I can't be in my truth and not speaking my truth. And you know, and then in the lower chakras, if you know what chakras, or if you don't know what chakras are, they're like different energetic points, and they're the main, I think, 7 points, energetic points of our body, that goes from, you know, our crown all the way to their sacrum. And each energetic point has a duty, I guess, or it kind of oversees a certain aspect of our existence. But I think I want to say that we have 108 of them, but we have 7 that are the main ones that usually most people will focus on. So anyways, so then we went into the lower part of my chakras, in the, not in the sacrum, in the, I think in my navel or something like that. And I had some blockages with my sexuality and my sensuality, and my feminine energy, and everything is like connected, right? And so one of the things that I found out was, you know so there's a saying in my country, and we say, so it goes kwicisha bugufi. I don't even know if I say that correctly because I don't have the best accent, to be honest, but anyways, I can also kind of put a little English accent, kwicisha bugufi. So that pretty much, what it means really is that you have to basically not be seen, right? So don't talk out loud, don't be extra, don't do anything to kind of bring attention to yourself. And in my family, immediate family, this is not something that I learned, actually. Quite the opposite, to be honest. But because it's a vibration that is within our culture, that is within, where I come from, it's almost like a lineage of vibration that sometimes we come with, and it's things that you have to kind of go through, or to kind of confront, or to transmute, on behalf of your people, on behalf of everything that you represent, right? Everything that identifies you physically, I guess, in a way, right? And so to me, that's like one of the ways that I feel that, I contributed, because my dad is really not like that, again, and my mom either, actually. And but maybe she had to deal with it when she was younger, I'm not too sure. But what I know about my dad is that he used to tell me that when he was younger, he was really shy. And for me, it was really hard for me to believe that, because if you know my dad, he has like minus shyness to him. So to me, it was like, oh, he's just trying to connect. He's just like lying so that we can relate and we can have a bond. But we all know that he's lying, so we're not going to listen to him, because we know better, obviously, right? And so, but again, it's like um, this whole concept of not attracting attention onto yourself. And so this also kind of then went into other aspects of my life. So for example, my the friend who suggested this to me, she was saying, you know uh, we're not taught to be comfortable at public speaking. And I think that's a general thing. I want to say that maybe in some cultures, some people might be a bit more comfortable than others, but generally speaking, I feel like public speaking is something that can be very frightening for a lot of people. And but going back to like public, whether it's like public speaking, or or just like basically saying your truth, like expressing yourself. And we also come from a culture that, back in the days, or I guess within our culture, it's not a predominant thing of, express yourself and be free and, you know, show yourself however you want to show yourself. I think now we're starting to do that. It's starting to evolve with like people going outside of the country and learning different things, and, you know, and having different experiences and downloading these new vibrations for, on behalf of our ancestors, if you want, and also for the future generations. So this is why, like, whenever I see someone who's doing some work on themselves, I truly am grateful, because, you're doing all this on behalf of everything that you represent. It's not just for yourself. There's such a contribution that you are bringing just by you being present, whether you're doing your work consciously or not. At the end of the day, you are contributing. So thank you for just being on earth. Thank you for just being and contributing. And what I can wish for everybody is that your journey gets lighter and better and more joyful and blissful. But going back again to this whole thing, right? So for me, one of the ways that I gained self-confidence, if I can talk in those terms, was that I started confronting myself. So again, going back to being shy, because I didn't like the word shy. Like every time I would say like, yeah, I'm shy, it didn't feel right to me. So I started putting myself in certain situations that, would force me to really to face myself. So if I felt like I needed to say something, but I stopped myself from saying it because I felt shy, then I started forcing myself to say it. And then I would meditate on it. And then I would kind of, have like a self-reflection and introspection of what happened there. Like, what is it that I was trying to say? Did I express it the way that I wanted to express? Was that my truth? What did I feel? How did my body react? How did this thing? And just like, questioning myself and asking myself all these things until I really found the way that I wanted to feel and what was my truth, like what was even my whole purpose for wanting to express what I wanted to express, right? And even the process of it was so painful that was frustrating enough for me to also want to take a look at that, because I was like, I honestly believe that it shouldn't be painful. Like, this should just like flow. Like, what is it that is blocking me from expressing myself this way or from being this way, And so with the discomfort of my feminine energy, or being, accepting the fact that I'm a woman, not to that extent, but, just like being comfortable in my feminine body, once I kind of resolved that, I went in myself and I had like different experiences. And again, putting myself in contrasting circumstances or situations so I can take a look at them and see, okay, what is the issue here? Like, because sometimes if you can't really meditate on things, sometimes it can be easier, although it might be just like uncomfortable. Sometimes it can be easier to put yourself in the situations that you are actually afraid of or that you're trying to avoid, to then, if you do it consciously and then take those situations, take them home, and then take the moment or take the time to actually analyze what happened there and find your truth, and then recalibrate it, or like, just like clean up the vibration and then align more with your truth. And you have to practice. It's a practice, just like anything else. It took you many years to be where you are right now. So be patient and keep practicing it. And the more that you do it, the easier it's going to come, right? And if your will is great, it's greater, then it's not even going to take that much time. Time is like really relative from one person to another. It just depends on how bad you want it. Like how bad do you actually want it, right? So I remember, I think I want to say in 2018, yeah, when my dad remarried. So first of all, my dad told me that he was going to remarry, maybe like, I don't know. No, he told me the date of his wedding. I want to say maybe like 3 months ahead of time, 3 or 4 months ahead of time. Okay. So, and then we were talking back and forth because I'm the one who played the role of his parent and gave his hand away to his now wife. And so then we're talking back and forth to see what are the things that I need and what I need to wear and blah, blah, blah. And so I arrived there on a Thursday afternoon. His wedding is on a Saturday morning-ish. Thursday afternoon, we went home. I got ready, showered, ate, and then we went to the last meeting, like wedding committee meeting that they had, to make sure that everything was like on point. Everything was gonna happen the way that they planned it. And so then they're talking about things that I don't understand, and I'm like kind of lost, because at this point I don't even know how the wedding is gonna go, like how it's gonna go, like what are the logistics of it. So towards the end, he takes me on the side and he goes, okay, so just so you can have context of what we talked about, so I'm just going to just like tell you how it's gonna happen, and then so he goes and proceeds and tells me. He's like, yeah, and then so after this, you're gonna give a speech, and I'm like, hold on. Why are we talking about speeches right now? And this is the thing. In my culture, they give speeches to everything, really. I feel like they give speeches to everything. It's like, but weddings specifically, or specific events, there's always a speech. And for them, they took out a lot of the speeches, the back and forth speeches, but because I was representing the parent, then I had to give a speech. And this did not occur to my head because I don't know, like, I don't think that way. Like, culture or not culture, I don't think about these things, okay? So I'm like, so we've had 4 months of talking and getting ready, and never did you think about, you know, mentioning that I will have to give a speech. And he was like, yeah, but how did, and to him I think is like, but how did you not think of that you're going to give a speech? Like, of course you're going to give a speech. And then he's like, yeah, but it's okay, it's okay, you can write something, you still have some time, you have Friday. And Friday I didn't not have the time, because I had to do everything, I had to get ready on Friday. Anyways, so came Saturday, and came the moment that I had to give a speech. And I didn't even bother writing anything. I was just like, you know what, whatever, I'm just gonna let it flow, whatever needs to come out will come out, and blah 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 blah. And so at the meeting, at the wedding committee, I remember my dad, he said, you know, I think they were expecting 800 people. And I was like, what type of wedding are we having here? 800 people. Like, you do not know 800 people. And at the actual wedding, I want to say that I think 650 came, close to 700 actually came throughout the whole thing. And this was like beyond me. So in the evening, that's where the most people, you know, came at the reception. And and this is me, right? I'm just thinking, wow, do I a speech in front of all these people? Like, I was thinking 100 people, 200 max, but 600 people. So my focus was just on my dad, because I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, I came here for him. And so I focused on my love for him and the joy that he felt. And I kind of fed off of his joy, and just like our relationship, and how grateful I am, and you know, how basically I just want him to be happy. I really do. And I really did, and I still do. And so I gave a speech. And this is the thing, I could not speak in English because my country is mostly French. So French is our second language. Our first language, which is our mother tongue, I cannot, like, I can't keep a conversation, okay? I can understand the language, but I cannot keep a conversation, let alone give a speech. And so I told everybody, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to mix everything, because I'm very comfortable in English. I will speak in French, and I will try to sneak in some Kirundi in there, you know, as best as I can. But just like, bear with me, you'll catch whatever you need to catch, you know? And so I gave a speech, and that was it. And I forgot about it. And then I had a great time, and then that was it. And the following day, my dad was saying how he got a lot of compliments actually throughout the whole stay. Like, sometimes we would just meet people that were at the wedding. They're like, oh my God, your daughter, she speaks so well, and da da da, she's so eloquent, da da. And I'm like, oh, I don't think we're describing the same person, but thank you very much. Anyways, so why was I able to give that speech? Because for me, I focused on what was important in that moment. And that moment, my truth was that I love my dad very much. And I wanted to say something that would be of support to him, and something that he could truly feel my love through my words. And I just kind of prayed, and I asked my people, I was like, you know what, just help me deliver this message to my dad as best as I can, because what matters is that only him understands me, and I'm only seeking a connection, you know, with him. And he actually, yeah, he cried. He cried, and he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're making me cry in front of all these people. And then he was trying to hold it back. But anyways, now the next thing was my feminine energy. And one thing that I realized, so this is the thing, in my culture, in like back home, the predominant thought process or thought pattern that is there is that as a woman, you shouldn't really, you know, wear things that show your body. It's not as free as, you know, some Western countries, like in Canada, for example, where you can wear short shorts and a tank top or like a crop top, and nobody's gonna pay you any attention unless, you know, you pique their interest. You know, it's just like, do you, whatever makes you feel comfortable, you know, you do you. In my country, it's not exactly like that. People will talk, people will gossip, people will judge you. And although this can also happen in other countries, uh, like let's say, for example, in Canada, people can still look at you and judge you and whatever, but it's not going to be, you know, it's not the predominant energy, right? And so that's the difference. In my country, that is the predominant energy. So although some people will not judge you, and although some people are very open-minded and free-spirited, or they don't care about how you dress or how you are, or how you express yourself, that is not the predominant energy that is there, right? So people always kind of do things in relationship to how other people are going to judge you or talk about you or perceive you, and you're not really, you know, it's not really fully encouraged as a culture or as a general thought process to just be yourself and express yourself and just like, wow, that is not it. And so I brought a dress, and this dress, like, let me tell you this thing. This dress is not even that revealing. Like it's a, first of all, it's not even a short dress. It's like a medium dress, or I don't know how you call it. Like it's like below the knees, right? And, but the back is exposed, and it has like spaghetti straps. And so when I brought this dress, when I packed it, I knew that there was a final, it's almost like not a test, but it's a final confrontation of how good of a job did I do to like be aligned with the, you know, like be comfortable in my feminine body. Because there was another time when I went back home, and I, you know, I went shopping with my mom, and then we bought like this really nice, it wasn't a tank top, but it was like a really nice top, but the back was all uncovered again. It was like exposed, but it was really a simple, nice top. And when I wore it back home, my dad was like, where are you going with this? Where do you think you're going? You need to put something on top, like put a scarf or put a shawl or whatever, whatever. And I was like, what? I don't even understand, because I don't, and you know, I'm not even, I'm covered. I'm like, I'm fully covered. And he was like, no, this is not Canada. Like you can't be going out like this and this and that. So I knew that I had to confront that thought pattern once more, and this would be like my last one. And so we had to go to this event. I can't remember what it was, but we had an event to go to, and I decided to wear the dress. And as I wore the dress, I came out in the living room knowing that I'd be confronting my dad. And my dad looked at me very calmly, and he's like, are you gonna wear a scarf on top of that? And I was like, but why? And he's like, because Kenny, come on, you know, come on. It's like, come on. He's like, you have to wear something on top of that because that's too revealing. And I'm like, what is revealing about this? And he's like, but your back is like all uncovered. And he's like, you know, if you don't have a scarf, it's okay. I'll ask my wife and she'll lend you one. And I was like, no, I don't want to wear one. And he's like, but you can't go out like that, Kenny. Like, this is not Canada. Again, he's like, this is not Canada. Like, I know if you were in Canada, this would be nothing and you look great in it and da 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 da. And I was like, this is where we have like conflicting messages, right? And I'm like, listen to me, Dad. Come, let's sit down. I need to talk to you. And so I go, listen, I want to tell you something. And I don't want you to take it personally. This is my personal, you know, challenge to overcome. And my dad has this idea of me. And I told him, you have this idea of me. You always say, you know, that I'm confident and how proud you are of me. And, you know, I know that you believe that I have the best self-image, and which I did. Even at that time, like a few years ago, I did, but not when it came to my feminine body, right? Not completely. And I was like, but listen, I need you to understand something. I know that maybe for you, this is not how things are done in Burundi, but I know that there are other people. I've seen other women, I've seen other young girls, respectable young women, respectable young girls who wear things that are even more like, you know, exposing than what I'm wearing here. And they don't have any problems. They don't have any problems. And I'm like, but I want you to know something. I have been very uncomfortable in my feminine body for the longest time ever. And in parts, it's because of you. Not to say that I'm putting a blame on you, but it's what you reflected or what I saw in, like, the reflection that I saw in you. And the way that you look at me is basically reminding me of the way that people here, or some people can look at you and judge you, because when you look at me, you're seeing the judgments that you're afraid of, that you're afraid that people are going to have on me, and maybe like are going to judge you because of me. And you know, by then I was like breaking down in tears, because oh my god, it was such a release, because I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that I'm actually releasing all these things. And I'm like, you know, but what I actually need from you, if you're actually trying to protect me, because that's what he said, is like, I'm just trying to protect you. And I'm like, if you're actually trying to protect me, I need you to look at me like someone who's protecting me, because now you're coming from a place of fear. And coming from a place of fear, this is like what you've been projecting onto me, and this is what I have adopted. And so this has caused me to always be afraid of how people are going to look at me physically, and what people are going to say about me physically, not necessarily, you know, what I have to say, because that I don't mind. But when people look at me, the first thing that people perceive about me without even knowing me is like my physical body. And so that's one of the reasons why I've always been uncomfortable in my physical body, because it would remind me of the way that you look at me coming from a fearful place. Whereas, for example, mom, when she looks at me, I know that she's also aware of, you know, and this is the other thing about my mom. Like my mom, she wore things that maybe most women from my country would not wear, or she just like dressed herself in certain ways that, you know, most of the women in my country wouldn't do it. And especially for a woman in her generation. And so when she looked at me, she looked at me with pride. Like her eyes actually looked at me with pride, and it's like celebrating me, because she celebrates herself, she celebrates her physical body, she celebrates the way that she looks, and she likes taking care of herself, and she likes feeling good and looking good for herself. And it's really like for herself, she really doesn't care about other people, you know. And that's kind of like, you know, the opposite energy that was conflicting within myself, because on the one side I felt like I don't have anything to hide from. But on the other end, it's like, oh my God, but be careful. You know, people might say this about you, or people might think this about how you look, and da 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 da. Because expressing myself has, I didn't really care about what people think about the way that I talk. But when people saw me, you know, my physical body again, it was like, oh my God, you know, it felt very uncomfortable. Unconsciously, it felt very uncomfortable. And I was like, Dad, if you really care about me, and the way that I know that you care about me, if you really love me the way that I know that you love me, you should instead, you know, encourage me, you know, because you've always encouraged us to be the best person that we can be, and to just be ourselves, to speak our truth, and to have vision, and to just express ourselves. But expression come in many ways. It's not just like verbally, it also comes physically, the way that we express ourselves physically, the way that people will, you know, perceive us, like you know, without even knowing us. And it's not about people, but it's about how we feel about ourselves. And I told them, and just like any other thing in my life, any other decision that I make in my life, I'm like, if at any given time you feel uncomfortable because of something that I said, because of something that I did, because of something, the way that I've expressed myself, if you're if you're feeling of discomfort, or if your feeling of fear comes before you actually connecting with my heart and connecting with my truth, I would much rather that you just relinquish any relationship that you have with me, and just think of me as a stranger, as someone that you don't know, rather than you putting me down, or rather than you reflecting your fear onto me, or rather than you saying, you know, you should be doing this to, like, you know, fit in this mold, because I don't want to fit in a mold. I never wanted to fit in a mold. And everything about their education was us not fitting in a mold, you know? And so, you know, and then I could feel like my dad was getting emotional too, but he was like, you know, holding on to it. And he's like, but he was like listening, and, you know, he hugged me. We kind of just like embraced each other. And he was like, you know, Kenny, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't know that's how you felt. I didn't know that's what actually was happening. And he's like, you know, I love you very much. I just want to protect you and this and that. And, you know, he told me many things that I already knew, excuse me, about how he feels. But I also needed to give him space to take on that role of a dad, and also for him to express how he feels. And so after that, you know, I ended up changing because I was still not ready to confront all of that. I was too emotional to like confront all of that. And then, yeah, and then that was it. But then afterwards, I was talking with other people, other young women there at the event that were, you know, dressing up the way that, again, there was like much more than what I would have worn otherwise. And they're like, and I was like, hey, so how do you guys live here? Like, how do you do it here? And they're like, no, you don't care. Like, this is like, you know, it's like our parents' generation. Like, this is not the generation now. Like, most of us, we just wear what we want to wear. And it's like, you know, things are just evolving. Things are evolving, right? And things are always evolving. And it's a matter of just finding your truth. It's always a matter, to me anyways, of finding your truth, honoring your truth, because at the end of the day, you're the only person who will fully, completely live with how you feel. No one else no one else can really tell you, you know, you should feel this way or do this because you're going to feel that way. You can suggest, even for me, I can never say, you know, do this and you'll feel good, and do that and you'll feel good. I can only suggest, because this is the thing, we're all different fragments experiencing different things, and we're all each other's like dictionaries or encyclopedia. And it's like, oh, well, why did you go through, like, I haven't been through this, like, oh, how did you do it? Because I see that you have the feeling that I want to achieve. How did you do it? And we share things, right? We share experiences, and that's how we can kind of grow. We can help each other grow. And so one thing may work for me and it may not work for you. But what I can say, again, for me personally, is just, I fully encourage you to face all these different aspects of yourselves or yourself, and find out your truth, and then align with your truth. Because once you're aligned with your truth, with the truth that you have in your heart, you know, nothing can shake you from that. So, and once you're there, it's not a matter of self-confidence or having a good self-image. You know, you can read a lot of books, and there are different exercises and different lessons that you can take if that's what you wanted also. But for me anyways, the more that I dig deep and the more that I use the things that I create in my reality and that make me feel a certain way, if it's something that I really feel good about, then I do more of that because I want to feel good. If it's something that I don't feel good about, then it's like, okay, well, this is an opportunity for me to look at it and be like, okay, well, this is how I actually want to feel. So what is preventing me to feel the way that I want to feel, based on this thing that I have created in my life, or based on this person that I've attracted in my life, or based on this situation that I've attracted in my life, you know? And then you just kind of understand that at the end of the day, you know, you just are, and you are perfect. We all are perfect, exactly as we came on this earth, exactly how we will leave on this earth. And it's a matter of choosing your experience, because we have the power to choose the type of experience that we want to have. But it's just understanding that there's a certain momentum that we have created in the past. There's certain things, there's certain thought patterns that comes from our ancestry, that come from our parents, that come from our environment, that come from a lot of things, right? And it's a matter of just like fine-tuning things one thing at a time, and just relaxing, taking things easy, making them fun, enjoying yourself, and just like, you know, don't take yourself too seriously. So I hope that this episode will help you give, I don't know, just give you a different aspect of how to gain self-confidence. So at least how I gained, you know, perspective, I would say. For me, I gained perspective. And so now I don't really think in the in terms of self-confidence. It's just is. I just want to feel good all the time. And then I do whatever I need to do for me to feel good all the time, you know, and inevitably making other people also feel good in my presence. You know, I can only hope that other people can feel good in my presence because I'm feeling good, you know? So on that note, thank you again so much on all your support. And again, if you're listening to us on Spotify, thank you for your support. Thank you for downloading our episodes. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a wonderful review so that we can share more of these wonderful, you know, podcasts and positive content in the world. If you're watching us on YouTube, please help us grow our channel, and like us, share, and subscribe to our channel so that, again, we keep building more positive content. And please, at any given time, reach out to us and send us an email, an IG, like slide into our DMs, whatever it is. But if you have any suggestions, if you want to hear a different perspective on any of the things that you might be going through, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to record something. So in the meantime, thank you again so much for your love and support, and sending you all the love, ease, and light in your life. Thanks so much, and until the next time.